So now let's talk about effective three-way calls, setting intent, and listening to learn. Guys, three-way calls is one of the most powerful things that you can utilize in your business to help you build your business, especially when you're new. Okay, especially when you're new. So the Think Plus proven system, just to review, and I'm going to assume that everyone on this call has already done this. And if you're brand new, just got in today, then do this today. Get these things knocked out today so that you can understand, so you can set yourself up for success. So I'm going to assume that you've identified your why, that you've created a vision board, that you've built a list of prospects, and that you're understanding and did some training on the invitation and the presentation, like how to send out a video, what to have them watch, how to invite them. And so what we're going to talk about now is the final step of the proven system, the validation or the three-way call. Validating the information that a prospect or a candidate looks at. Very important, validation. So let's talk about this. Now, first, let's talk about what a three-way call is not designed to do. This might be news for a lot of people. What a three-way call is not designed to do. First of all, it's not designed to convince people to join, to convince people, right? Because if you have to convince someone to join, then you have to convince them to figure out their reason why. You have to convince them to do a vision board. You have to convince them to show up to get certified. You have to convince them to do all of these things. You guys, it's not designed to convince people. If a prospect needs to be convinced, then the posture that you have with it it's already off. The three-way call clarifies it does not pressure people to join. Okay, it's not designed to rescue a weak invitation or to show the plan for you. I can't even tell you how many times people have gotten me on a call, and it's gotten a lot less, and I'm glad because everybody's learning and listening. That's good. But I can't tell you. That's just a regular thing. People will get me onto a three-way call, and the person has not seen the video yet. Or they didn't even ask them if they saw the video until they got them on a three-way call. Please don't do that. Don't do that to the person who your leader that you set up on the three-way call, and don't do it, okay, to the prospect, to the candidate. It sets it up as a really strange kind of scenario where if they haven't even looked at something, why are you getting them on the phone with a stranger that they don't even know, that they don't even have questions about the material yet? So if your invite was vague or needy or it was oversold, then the three-way call is not like a repair tool. Okay, it's not. It enhances good posture. It doesn't fix a poor setup. Okay, let's put it that way. So what else? It's not designed to close the candidate. A lot of people think I'll get them on sometimes people call it a closing call, and it is. It's fine. It's a great way to close out the presentation. But as far as closing them to join the business, your three-way call expert is not there to do your job, right? They're going to model and edify and validate and guide, but you still have to build your business. You still have to do the things necessary to be successful. And that is asking people to join. One of your jobs is to ask people to join. All right, so here's another one. It's not designed to answer every possible question that a person could possibly have or to debate the skeptics. That might be news to some people. It's not designed to do that. It's about identifying fit. The fit, if they're a fit, and kind of like talking about the next steps. And you don't want to, if you put people on information overload, they're not going to join. It's too much information, and now I'm not ready to join. The three-way call really needs to be short and sweet. That's what it needs to be. To answer the bullet point questions, the big questions, that's really what it is. Here's another thing that it's not designed to do. So a lot of people get people on a three-way call and they go, oh, when you hear this person, you're going to want to join. And that's fine. That's okay to promote it like that. But I have to tell you, that if all you're promoting is the ego or the person, okay, who's on the call, that's not a system. Okay, that's based on personalities, and we have a system in place. Okay, so it's not designed to like name dropping or hype or ego energy, right? That's what will kill duplication in the business. You want to have, here's what wins in this scenario: simple, calm, and professional. Now you can be excited and be calm. You can be you can have a lot of posture and be confident and calm. But keeping it simple and professional is the way to go. Okay, it's not designed to create dependency. Here's another one. It's not designed to create dependency. What do we mean by that? Well, if every prospect has to talk to your sponsor or your leader, then you're building reliance. You're not building leadership. Okay? That's very important to know. It's not designed to create dependency, which means you should be closing some of the people without a three-way call. I've had people that get me on the three-way call, and the person says to them before I get on the three-way call, yeah, I'm ready to get started. And the person says, okay, well then let me get you on a three-way call with my business partner. I'm like, they just told you they're ready to get started. Why are you getting them on a three-way call? And the person, I get on the phone and I say, hey, so you took a look at the video, right? And they go, yeah. I said, so are you ready to get started? And they go, yeah, I just told Joe here that I was ready to get started. And I said, okay, then why are we doing this call? Let's get you started. Like, the person, the energy advisor, was thinking they have to do this call as part of the process. Otherwise, it's like regimented, it's structured. You have to do this. No, there should be a number of people that you don't get on a three-way call because they're ready to join, so you don't get them on a three-way call. Instead, you turn it into a welcome call after they join. And there should be some people who you don't get on a three-way call because they're not qualified for your business partner's time. They don't have bona fide questions. They're too much of a skeptic. They're just totally negative. Why would you bring someone that's totally negative? They're not looking for anything in their life. They're complacent. They're lazy. They're skeptical. Why would you get that person onto a three-way call? Why would you want that person they're not qualified to really be on your team. Okay, so it's not about creating dependency. Here's what it's not designed to also do. It's not designed to transfer belief. This is very important too, because belief, okay, grows from exposure and experience. That's where belief comes from in this business. The call can reinforce belief, but it's not going to implant it in your person, into the prospect. Okay, that's not what it is. So it's not designed to transfer belief. And here, this is very important. We already talked about this, but I want to reiterate that the three-way call is not to be designed to be done with 100% of your prospects. It's designed to be done with people who've seen the presentation, prospects, candidates who've seen the presentation, and they have bona fide questions. They have some type of interest. They're a maybe, right? They're not a no, and they're not a yes. If they're a yes, ready to get started, you're not going to get them on a three-way call. You're going to welcome them to the team with a call with your business partner later. So now that we've gone over what a three-way call is not designed to do, and for some people on this call, I'm sure that this is news to you, and that's fine. We want it to be news to you. Now let's talk about what it is designed to do. This is powerful. What is a three-way call designed to do? Well, it's designed to validate the process. And there's going to be more is designed to than not designed to. Okay? So this shows your prospect that this isn't just like an idea. Okay? This is not something that just started. There's a system in place. There's support. There's leadership. That's the validation. It's designed to edify leadership. It demonstrates that you're connected to, let's call them capable people that are competent, that are your mentors. They know exactly what they're doing. It builds trust, again, without hyping it up, right? That's what it is. It builds trust. It establishes posture. This is a great one. It establishes posture because a strong posture, okay, models confidence. It models confidence and not convincing people. Your prospect, okay, they see how professionals communicate when you're doing a three-way call. You're a professional, you're bringing a professional onto the call, you're both professionals. You're demonstrating so your prospect can see that you have a professional line of communication to leadership. You're creating third-party credibility. Third party. See, sometimes belief increases when someone else says the same thing that you've already said. Okay? It validates it. It's a third party credibility. Bringing in someone else gives a third perspective. It's your perspective and their perspective until the three-way call, right? Now you have a third perspective. More perspectives equals higher chances of your sponsor joining. I'm going to say that again. More perspectives equals a higher percentage in your prospect joining. It clarifies the fit. The goal here, we're not selling. We're not trying to sell people. We're trying to determine alignment. What we're doing is we're determining alignment. That's clarifying the fit. Do they fit? Do they align with your goal? Does what they want to do and who they are and what they're all about and what they want, does it fit with this business? See, a lot of people don't even realize this, but half the time the three-way, no, not half the time, but many times the three-way call convinces someone why they shouldn't join instead of convincing them why they should. That's how it works. I'd rather convince someone to not join than convince them to join and waste my time with them. Right? So it clarifies the fit. All right. So now here's the next one. You're answering strategic questions. Okay. This is a big deal. This is not every question, not every single question, but the ones that matter to the next steps. See, those are the questions that we need to get answered. It prevents confusion and it doesn't overwhelm the prospect. See, I've been on three-way calls where, and you honestly, it's a tough thing for people. The advisor who's getting me on a three-way, who's getting the leader on a three-way call that has their business partner there, it's a tough thing for that prospect, that EA, that energy advisor, to zip it, to close their mouth, to not interject and inject other things into the conversation. Okay? You want to turn it over and let them do their job. Introduce the two people, and we'll talk about that further. But by creating less confusion, by answering the strategic questions, it doesn't overwhelm the prospect. And there may be things where you hear the prospect on there asking questions and they didn't ask the fourth question, and you think it's really important to have that answered, and so you bring it up. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. Maybe at the end of the call, when they bring it back to you, you might say something to make that prospect ask the question. But don't ask the questions for the prospect, okay? Don't do that. It sets up a weird scenario where people are they start saying, well, oh, you just asked this question. I forgot all about that one. I was ready to get started. And now that you made me think of this one again, what do I need to do? So here's another thing that it does. It compresses time. So instead of the back and forth where you're clarifying, 15 or 20 questions, over, okay? Instead, what you're doing is, instead of going back and forth for weeks, you're compressing time by getting a leader on the call who then can answer those questions in rapid fire. Maybe there's 3 or 4 questions. It's generally 3 or 4 questions. The leader who's going through the process, they will go through and ask the questions. Like, what did you like best? What did you and they'll find out more about that prospect as they're going. And you can even put that in there too. You can even find out if there were a few things that they wanted to talk about, great. You can highlight and bullet point some of those things. But again, don't be injecting questions into there that the prospect isn't putting into the mix. All right. So you're compressing time. Here's another thing that you're doing. You're transferring vision, right? A sponsor, you as the sponsor, you can expand what's possible, right? You can basically, if you're the leader on this three-way call and you're the person that the three-way call expert, okay, you can expand talking about lifestyle, talking about leverage, talking about scaling up the business, talking about doing all these things without emotional, I don't know, what's pushing, without pushing them emotionally, right? That's what you can do. So it's very exciting what we have here. The other thing is it'll model duplication. Like that's a big one, right? The real product of a three-way call, when you think about that, the real product of a three-way call is not the sign up. Okay. It's teaching you how to do it yourself. That's what it's doing. Think about how powerful that is, right? I mean, very exciting to think about that. So it models duplication, right? That's a very exciting portion of what the three-way call is designed to do. And so it sets next steps clearly. That's another piece of what this three-way call is designed to do. It sets up the next steps. Like the person who's doing the three-way call with you, the leader, the business builder, the business leader, your business partner, that person can actually say, here are your next steps. This is what you do. So it's very simple, and we have a process that goes through. And then it also reinforces culture, which you're going to do. Okay, because we have a culture in our business. One of our cultures is to do three-way calls. One of our cultures is to get people to take a look at the plan. One of our cultures is to answer their questions. One of our cultures is to find out if they're the right fit or not, and to encourage them if they are. That's what it is. So you're reinforcing culture. You're talking about, having this call give them a mini insight into what we're all about. See, sometimes the person is just looking to find out, hey, what do you guys actually do on a daily basis? What's your life like? And somebody who's been doing it, how has that changed? A lot of times reinforcing this culture is what the prospect is looking for, and they don't even know it half the time. Again, no hype. There's no desperation in this. It reflects our standards, right, as a team. That's what it does. It reflects the standards. And finally, and this is probably the most important one out of all of these things for you as the advisor that's getting your prospect onto the three-way call. This is definitely the most important point for you. It strengthens you as a new advisor. See, here's a couple reasons why. Sometimes because you might be new in the business and you don't have a lot of fruit on the tree, but you get your prospect onto a call with someone who does, and now they're like, check mark, that's good. I can follow the person who I know that just got me onto this call because they know this leader who's already done it, which means I think they know how to do this. My sponsor knows how to get the answers. My sponsor knows how to get me what I need. It strengthens you as the new advisor. Okay, often the biggest benefit of the three-way call is not for the prospect. That might be news to some people on this call as well. I just said it. Sometimes the biggest benefit of the three-way call is not for the prospect. It's for the new builder who's watching how our business is done. That right there is gold for a lot of people. Okay, maybe you never thought of that before. Maybe you've never thought about doing it that way, about a three-way call impacting. See, I like to say that the three-way call when it happens and you're a new advisor and you're on that call with the business partner that you brought on and you're doing the introduction, and we're going to talk about that in a sec. And you do that and now you're listening. When you're listening and your mouth is zipped and you're listening to the interchange between your prospect, your candidate, and your business partner, that at that moment is the incubator for baby three-way call experts. That's what it is. When you're listening to your business partner talk to your prospect and you're figuring out and hearing and learning and you're putting that into your brain, that is the incubator for baby three-way call experts. It's going to teach you to become a three-way call expert. It's the incubator. You guys, that's what it is. And so, one of the things you do when you're setting up that three-way call is asking people for a decision. Does that make sense to you? This is how you get them on the three-way call in the first place. What did you like best? You're going to ask them, does that make sense to you? What'd you like best? I always love to talk about that. What'd you like best about what you saw? It's such a great thing to talk about. Well, what'd you like worst? I mean, come on, what'd you like best? I've had people that, they focus on the negative side of things instead of the positive side. I've seen advisors do this. And, if they had only focused on the positive side, the positive outweighed the negative but because you focused on the negative, because of your own belief system, instead of focusing on the positive like we train, you basically took all of the air out of the room, and your prospect is like, well, we spent a lot of time on the negative, so stay on the positive. Does that mean you're ready to get started? Everybody should be asking these questions. Does that make sense to you after they watch it? What did you like best? Does that mean you're ready to get started? See, what you have to not be afraid of is a no. Does that mean you're ready to get started? It's okay if they say, no, I'm not. That's good. That's good information. Okay? That's good information. I mean, I've had some people say, well, I like to give them an alternate close, if this is the closing question, right? If you want to call it that. We're not really selling or closing, but great. So they say, so are you ready to get started today, or would you rather get started tomorrow? That kind of thing. Are you ready to get started right now, or are you ready to get started, when I see you next time? That's fine, but you're asking them, does that mean you're ready to get started? I know some people like to do this scale of 1 to 10. A 1 being you don't have any interest in this at all, and a 10 being you're ready to join. That's a great question to ask someone. Where would you put yourself? And they'll tell you. And now you know how to proceed. And what questions can we ask for you? And that's when you bring in that three-way call leader onto the call and you build them up. You set this up in advance and you build up your business partner to your potential advisor. You're going to say, hi, Mary. Mary, I'm going to introduce you to my friend, Jim. Hey, Jim. This is Mary. Mary's my good friend. I've known her for 5 years. And she's very successful. We have a great relationship. She has, a good couple. Hey, she's really not great in the community. She does. You give a couple bullet points about not 50, but a couple key bullet points. And then you say, Mary, and this is Jim. Jim's my business partner and one of my mentors. I have the utmost respect for him. He's been doing this longer than I have. He knows a lot more about it than I do. And here's what I love about Jim. Jim's very attentive to questions. He listens to people. He's not pushy. He's not a pushy salesperson, right? So, and I'd love for you to hear from him from experience, exactly, what he's been doing. Great. And he may be able to answer some questions if you have any. That's how you build up your business partner. Hey, Mary, this is Jim. Jim, this is Mary. And then you shut your mouth. And you refer to them as your business partner, not your upline, and you don't interrupt. Write stuff down. Take notes on your phone at the end. If you think about something and you want to remember it, then just write it down, but don't interrupt. When you interrupt the person your business partner, you're de-edifying them. You're dragging them down. So your prospect thinks they're up here because you've done a great job at telling them that. And now this is going real well. The prospect everybody's good. And all of a sudden you interrupt your business partner and your prospect says, oh, well, maybe Jim is kind of down here now because my friend just interrupted him. Maybe my friend knows more than this person. Maybe what they told me isn't true. See, don't interrupt and do it as soon as possible because we all know that time kills deals. And then finally, the last thing is make sure you're dripping information on them. If they're not ready to get started, that's no big deal. I like to say, well, if somebody's not ready to get started now, that just means they're not ready to get started now. That means they are ready to get started later. I like to, in my mind, I go, if someone is not ready to get started now and they say no now, that just means it's a follow-up later. It's a positive outcome either way. Every time you show the plan to someone, whether they join or not, whether they are a yes, a no, a maybe, or a later, you're one step closer to fulfilling what is on your vision board. You're one step closer. So drip information on people, like utilize that in the BAM information, the BAM app, absolutely, to drip press releases and promotions and updates on people. Man, I press released a prospect into the business. It wasn't even somebody that I was working with. It was just, we did a three-way call and the person, we had the same interests. Like I had more in common with the prospect than the energy advisor did. And we were in the same industry. We'd both been recruiters in our past. We both business owners, you know? And so when I was talking to this person, we hit it off. And that person, they asked, you know, at the end, I said, hey, you know, I'll give you my cell phone number. Feel free to reach out. Well, that person reached out to me and we started developing a little bit of a relationship, right? And so I started dripping information on this person. And I'd never talked to them about the business. We only talked about the recruiting world, business world, talked about like, you know, how people become successful at jobs and why. We did all kinds of stuff like that. We never really talked about the business, except every once in a while I sent him a link to a press release. So I press released this person into the business. And over the course of about 3 or 4 weeks, all of a sudden, that prospect calls up their potential sponsor, you know, the person that showed him the plan initially, hadn't talked to him in a month and said, hey, I'm ready to join. And the person was like, really? Wow, what changed? And he was like, well, you know what? I read about 15 press releases that Tony sent me over the past month. And you know what? This thing makes sense. I'm ready to get started. See, it was just this prospect needed more touches, needed to get more information, just needed to be able to settle in and absorb some things. So patience. Okay, so do a delayed three-way call. Sometimes invite them to a virtual or an in-person event and make sure you're checking back with people every 3 to 6 months. After the three-way call, if they're not ready to join, if they're a no or maybe or whatever, they're not ready to join, follow up every 6 months, every 3 to 6 months with them. I love to say to people, this is what I love to say to my candidates, is it okay, after I do a three-way call and they're not ready to join, is it okay if I check back with you in 3 to 6 months? For 2 reasons. Number one, to see how things are going with you, life, job, family, whatever, you know, to find out how things are going with you and see if anything has changed in your life. That's the main reason. But the second reason is to let you know what's going on with me and Think Plus. Why do I say that? Because people are nosy. And I've never had anybody say, don't check back with me in 3 to 6 months to see how I'm doing. I've never had anybody say that. Like they would be the bad person in that scenario. So here's the bottom line. You need to take up the person's research time with factual information because they'll fall for anything. What is that statement that says people who don't stand for something will fall for anything? So if they're a maybe, they're not standing for anything. They're not taking a position either way. So if they're a maybe, they're not standing. If they don't stand for anything, if they don't stand for something, they'll fall for anything. And those are the people that'll, you know, read something on the internet and go, oh yeah, I believe the first thing I've heard on the internet. You know, so take up their time with factual research and information. And then if they're still a maybe, and they're like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to join, just ask them one question. Everybody should bake this question into your mind. When someone says, I'm not sure if I want to join, follow up with me in a week. I'm not sure if I'm ready to get started. I have to think about it. Let me sleep on it. You hear all these things, right? Let me pray on it. Let me sleep on it. Let me pray on it. Let me think about it every day for the rest of my life. They're a maybe. This is how you kick them out. You kick them off the fence by just this one question. Well, since you're not sure, this is what I like to say. Instead of just saying who's the first person you thought of, I'm not a robot. Okay. I know how to ask this question, but I like to lead it with something like this. Hey, Jim, hey, Sally, I know you took a look at it and it sounds like you're not quite ready to get started yet. And maybe you're thinking about it, but maybe not. You're not sure, right? Does that sound right? Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Who's the first person you thought of who would want to save money or make money every time someone uses electricity? You see how I just did that? I just stated some things. I made them agree with me, right? I said, you took a look at the plan. You're not really sure. Sounds like maybe you're ready to join, or maybe you're not. You might have some questions for whatever reason. You said, let me sleep on it. Let me pray about it. Let me think about it. But let me ask you this. And then you ask them the question. And now this question isn't adversarial. It's not like, I'm going to kick you off the fence because you're one of these squirrels on the fence. Let me hit you with this one question without even being a normal person that talks about things that are important to me. Like, let me just hit you with it. I've had people who weaponized, I've had energy advisors who have called me and they said, listen, I used this question, it didn't work. Because what they did is they weaponized the question. Like they used it as they were taking a bullet out of their belt and they're going to shoot the prospect with it. You know, instead of skillfully stating where the person is at this moment in time so they can agree with you. Sounds like you're a maybe, not really sure. You have to think about it, got to pray about it, right? Does that sound? It sounds like you're not really sure if you're ready to get started. Is that right? Yes. Well, then let me ask you this. See, you're asking for permission to ask the question. Who's the first person you thought of who would want to save money or make money every time someone uses electricity? Take your time. Be skillful. Be a consultative advisor, advising people on things, services, products, programs, and our business, things that are good for those people. And if they say at that point that they don't, yeah, I don't think I know anybody like that, let them off the hook. That's a no right now. They're not going to join right now. They're not the right person for this right at this moment. Sign them up as a customer and then follow up with them. But if you do it nicely and calmly and confidently, like I just did, instead of weaponizing the question, listen, Mr. Maybe, who's the first person you thought of who would want to save money or make money every time someone uses electricity? Because I'm asking you this question because how you answer it is going to determine if you're going to be successful in this business or not. I'm like, I've seen people and heard people weaponize it like that. Don't do that, right? If they start thinking of people, like they say, yeah, I have a couple people. I had somebody just the other day say, after I asked them that question, they were a maybe. And I said, I asked them the question. And they said, yeah, I think I know a couple people that would want to save money or make money. So I said, okay, who are they? Who would that be? Like, and I'm not being nosy. I'm not trying to give them to me. Give me those people. I'm going to talk to them. No, I just said, what's the first name? What's their first name? They told me their first name. I said, great. And then I said, well, what does that person do? And where do they live? And why do you like them? See, I started interviewing them about that person. Then I said, well, how about this? How about we go show this person the plan? Because now I've asked you questions about this person. I'm interested in helping you and them. I am I'm somebody who cares. How about we go show them the plan? And if they want to join, then you join. Guys, this is simple. This is working with people. You'll learn a lot by reading a lot of books and doing that, but I'm giving you this now so you can kind of take this instant compressed microwaved way of understanding a three-way call so you can use it in this proven system. And that's how it works.